I drained the differential. The oil came like two different thickness. I think they may mix synthetic and mineral oil. They also used chisel and hammer over here. They broke these tabs. Hopefully I don't need them if I need to adjust this. And I also discovered they left paper towel inside. Good thing I removed this. At least I get everything clean and I check all the specification of this before I put it back together. And I need to replace the oil seal in the front. It was leaking. When I was buying the dump truck, the previous owner informed me he broke an axle and there was some damage inside the differential. He didn't know exactly what was going on. He hired the mechanic and I was able to meet with the mechanic who did the job, and the mechanic guaranteed me that he repaired the differential and he used new parts and he adjusted to specs and it's safe for me to drive the truck anywhere in the United States. While I was driving the dump truck to the ranch, it was about a 120-mile journey. As soon as I made it here, I discovered there's some gear oil leak over here. So I thought after I finish work on the bed, I'm going to remove the differential to inspect the man work and also to replace the oil seal. Luckily I did that, because when I removed the third member, I discovered this kind of damage on the adjuster's nuts. They attempt to weld this one over here. There is a lot of damage to this part. Some of it looked like a chisel mark and some of it looked like an axle broke and spun inside. I didn't trust this part to reuse it. I was able to buy a new one. But let me show you some of the damage on this one over here. And this on both sides. I was able to extract the ring gear by removing all the bolts, and then I set this on piece of wood on the ground, and I used this flat stock with a hammer and I kept beating it this way until the ring gear came down. It took about 15 minutes of beating. You need to make sure you keep beating it all the way around so you don't damage one area. And this is tight fit to this part over here. I have to heat this with hot water before I could install it on the new part. Before you disassemble something like this, you need to make sure you mark it. Either use punch and hammer or use like I did over here. I took a knife and I just ran 2 lines so I could match them, and I did this on both parts. Probably doesn't matter over here because maybe the mechanic took it apart and he didn't mark it because there was no marking on it. However, it's good idea right here. It's good idea to mark it so when you install it, you put it back to the same location. Because when they machine these surfaces, they machine them after they bolt this together, and they machine the surfaces between this and this. So make sure you do that. Make sure you mark the 2 parts. The spider looked good. The spider gear looked good. However, I went ahead and bought a new thrust washers for the spider gear or the pinion gears. And I bought a new side gears and a new thrust washers for the side gears. I also bought a new bearing and race to replace those so I don't have to extract those and install them here. I bought the new original part. And I also was planning to reuse these, the original bolts for this. However, I find the kit on eBay and it was very cheap, so I bought new bolts to replace the ring gear bolts. Also, I bought some new metric bolts to replace the original bolts for this. This is longer and it will make it. If I use the washer over here, as you see, the thread will be all the way. And I bought a new tab and I tabbed the thread over here for these new bolts because they use Loctite when they originally assemble it. So this long bolt will be a better option than reusing the old one. Every time they use Loctite on something like this, you need to make sure you buy new bolts and buy a tab and make sure you rethread the area where the bolt gonna go to. This way you could torque it to spec and you don't have to worry about it. I am going to disassemble this one, clean it with diesel, and once all the parts are clean, I will set the camera and I'll show you how I'm going to install everything. After I remove the nut and this part, I use the chisel and 5/8 inch wrench and I applied the pressure in couple of spots until the old seal came off. This used to leak gear oil. When I drive the truck, it used to drip gear oil from this area. The new seal matched the old one. I am going to clean it one more time with the brake party cleaner, blow it with air, and then I'll apply silicone when I assemble the seal. And I'll wait a little bit before I install this part to make sure the silicone cured and the seal doesn't come off. I also going to apply silicone in this part over here so it doesn't leak gear oil between this part and this part. I am not going to mess with this part because the bearing spins freely and the preload seems to be okay. There's little bit resistance when I spin the pinion. And there was no leak in this area. Make sure this area over here is smooth. If you have to sand it with 1000 to 2000 grit sandpaper, make sure it stays smooth. This one over here is in good shape. The silicone will help the seal go in easy and it will also seal it better. Just a little bit, not too much. Don't let the silicone get on the bearing. Also, we need to make sure the lip is toward the inside so it doesn't leak gear oil. If you install it the opposite way, it will leak oil. This part over here, for this particular seal, it needs to go in this direction. This seal is in, but sometimes they have oil seal with too much rubber on the outside. If you use silicone or grease to push them in, it may come off. It may work itself out. I like to apply silicone on all the seals. They say you only have to put silicone on seal with the steel case on the outside. This has little bit of rubber material on the outside, or they coated the steel with. However, every time I put oil seal, I apply silicone, install it, wait about an hour before I proceed to make sure it stay in place and the silicone cured. Once this one cure for about an hour, I'll put some grease over here to the inside. I won't let it touch this area over here because I will use silicone so this part over here doesn't leak gear oil. It's been about an hour since I installed the seal and the silicone dried. I'm going to use caliper paint because it could handle heat. The differential will generate heat when the vehicle in operation, so regular paint can handle the heat and it will come off. And I'll paint this area to prevent rust. I'm going to apply a little bit of grease on the lip of the seal and on this part over here. I don't want to apply gear oil because I will silicone this part over here on the axle and I don't want it to leak oil. If there is oil and you apply silicone, it will leak. It will not seal good. Just a little bit, don't use too much. This thing designed to operate on gear oil. I'm going to apply a little bit silicone in the outside surface over here. So it doesn't leak gear oil between this and the pinion. I'm going about 1/2 inch deep. I'm going to coat this washer with the silicone. I put marking on the nut and over here on the pinion before I loosen this nut. I still need to go just a little bit. It's right there. I have the two marks. They're perfectly on each other. I cleaned everything, blew it with air. I also took this new stone and I hit the ring gear to make sure it's flat. It doesn't have any burr or anything that to prevent it from seating all the way. I also cleaned the inside of this, blew the thread and everything with air. I cut this bottom of 55-gallon drum and I'm going to use it to heat some water and put the ring gear in it, and this will make it expand and fit easy. While the ring gear getting heated, I'm going to assemble everything else and get everything ready right over there. I'm not going to use grease or oil to assemble this just in case dirt or whatever, because I'm doing it outdoor and if there is wind picked up, it may get dirt inside it, so I could just blow it with air and clean it. I'm planning after I get this assembled to run the truck for a little bit, maybe a month or so, and then I'll change the oil to flush anything that may get inside. Thrust washer go on the side gear. And then each one of the pinion gear get thrust washer, and those concave, they have this sphere shape. They need to go over the pinion gear like this. And now I look for the marking I put on the frame over here. It's right here. It will match this one. Always make sure you spin the bolt at least 3 turns to make sure it's not cross-threaded, because if you cross-thread it, then you will damage this part. It is seated all the way. The gear is still spinning. There is a special frame, you could put this in it and tied it up so you could torque it to specs. However, I didn't want to build one just to work on this part over here. Make sure if you do this, you don't scratch the gears or anything inside. The water to prevent you from overheating the ring gear. If you use torch, you may mess up the temper and hardness of the metal. Water will not allow it to exceed 100 Celsius or 220 Fahrenheit. And this will make it expand, and it should drop right here. You need to make sure the ring gear is seated correctly and all the way. There is no gap. Most manuals, they will tell you to take 3000 feeler gauge and go all the way around. Make sure it doesn't fit. It's good. Now what I need to do, I need to hit the bearings to make sure they will fit here. I don't want to submerge the new ball bearing in water. It's probably a good idea to do that, but I don't want it to build surface rust. I'll make sure the inside part is clean and dry from the casmoline they put on it so it doesn't rust. I'm going to use brake part cleaner. Most shop just use oxyacetylene torch to heat everything, but the water is the right solution for something like this, especially for the ring gear. Maybe oil, but I think oil boiling temperature is way hotter than water. Regardless, make sure the bearing don't discolor. Stay shiny and chrome in color. If it start turning yellow or blue, you overdo it. And you have to get a new bearing. It's seated all the way. Both bearings seated all the way. I'm going to apply a sleeve retainer to this area only. I'll prevent it from dripping on the ball bearing or get on the thread. I'm just going to apply a small bead on the edge over here, so when I push the sleeve it will be coated all the way. Make sure the thread is lined perfectly. When they engineer this, they should put dowel instead of this dumbbell because you could install it wrong. I'm going to apply some preload on these bearings, and if you don't use the sleeve retainer, then the race may spin and cause wear on this part. Make sure the thread is lined up, especially in the inside, so you get full adjustment. I cleaned and dried the race. hand tight this. Right now we don't have preload. As you see, you could go in and out. What I need to do, I need to make sure this is all the way out until the notches or this part is flat to the body. That's giving me plenty of room to adjust it. And now I'm going to keep tight this until I have no backlash. You like this in and out without the pinion moving. Right there. Use a flat stock that fit between 2 points. Don't just do leverage on one point. Make sure you go all the way. I still need to go more from here. Right now I have 0 preload and 0 backlash. Barely, probably 1/10 of 1,000 backlash. There is no preload. I'm going to set a dial indicator. Yeah, the dial indicator just dance, it doesn't move. That's because I'm moving this and I'm supposed to attach it to the frame over here. However, there's no room. This is solid enough. I will verify the preload. Yeah, right there. Now the only thing I need to do, I will tie this 2 notches. Right now it's on this one. I will count 1, 2, and I'll make sure it's pointing at the 12 o'clock. If you're not changing bearings or not changing anything, you just want to inspect what's going on, make sure you check it with the dial indicator and put it back to the same way it was. This one right now, it has a new bearing and a new a flange. So I set it to the optimum setting. It should be between 8 to 18,000. Some of them, they have run out. And you need to make sure when you rotate it and check backlash, you need the measurement to be between 8 to 18,000. This one over here is perfect because I did everything right. I seated the ring gear on this frame and everything flat and all that. So I got the same reading all the way around. And let me show you how you're supposed to set the dial indicator. It's better to assemble the dial indicator to this over here. However, there is no room, and this is fine. I could feel the backlash. When you rock it back and forth, you need to make sure the pinion doesn't move. And this is the backlash. One more thing, I'm going to pack these screws one at a time, and I'm going to put some thread locker on them. One last backlash check. Still about 12,000. Perfect. It is also a good idea to paint this with compound and check the wear. However, I didn't do anything to the pinion, so I'm not going to do that. And when I spin it right now, I could see it touch right in the middle. So it is good. Also, you could rotate the pinion and check for backlash. Its weight about 200 pounds. I'm going to leave it here till tomorrow morning. I don't want moisture to get on it and cause it to rust. When I disassembled the rear end a few weeks ago, because I've been waiting for parts, I went ahead and cleaned everything and protect everything with the plastic. And good thing I protected the third member with the trash bag because it rained last night. And it fixed the snow here a little bit. But I'm determined to finish with this weekend. I'm gonna go ahead, remove the plastic, clean it and blow it with air one last time. And then I'll install the third member and assemble everything on the wheels. This thing weighs about 200 pounds. It's very heavy. I'm going to blow it one last time with air, and I'm going to find longer bolt, so I'll rest this on the axle, and then I'll apply silicone and push the differential to the axle. It's so cold, it's hard to push the silicone out. I put silicone on both surfaces and now I'm ready to push it in. I'm also going to apply silicone on the thread of the bolts because the thread is all the way through to the axle. Just a little bit to prevent leaks. All right, now all the bolts in. I went ahead, hand tied all these bolts, and right now the third member is seated on the axle, and I'm going to torque it to space. And that's it. This third member is done. The way I fill the differential with gear oil, I use this 3/4 90 and I put this funnel to it. And it took about 2.5 gallons of gear oil. The temperature was about 25 degrees Fahrenheit, little bit below 0 Celsius. And the gear oil was coming like honey. So it took a while to fill the differential with gear oil. I lost the plug that goes here, so I'm going to use this a 3/4. It's a pipe fitting for water. They sell them at the hardware store. and it's the same thread. For some reason, on this differential, some hardware is metric and some hardware is standard. It doesn't make sense why they didn't use the same hardware for everything. The gear oil, it's a little bit higher than this, so when I lose this, it's going to leak a little bit. I already tried it, so I'm going to remove the funnel, untighten this, and then tie this in place. It was a good thing I took the differential apart to inspect it. As you saw, it needed the work. If you have similar old truck, before you do the work, make sure you check the data tag on the axle and on the differential itself, and make sure you find parts and you have them before you start the work. It took me a while to find all the parts for this differential and also for the brake. If you have similar truck, this truck has the Rockwell International RS15-120 axle. If you need parts, let me know in the comment section and I'll give you the part number so you could look it up on eBay. I hope this video was informative. Thank you for watching and thank you for your support, and I'll see you later. Take care.